you need to unmute yourself, Alice. Yeah.
Okay, now I think it works. Yeah, thank you so much. I will do the introduction.
That's fine. Thank you. Again, as I did for Dominic, I won't start the timer until you finished introducing yourself. Good.
Okay, so hello everybody. In this session, we would like to present you our first results of our design-based research project in which we investigate the question, how can students explore critical thinking as an academic practice? And before we start, we would like to introduce ourselves. There's Tobias Smol. He is an ethical scientist and a professor at the OWL University of Applied Science and Arts in Germany. And he's also working as a postdoc at the University of Hamburg in the field of higher education. And I'm Alice, and I'm just starting my PhD in the field of philosophy and education and work as a research assistant under Tobias. Tobias and I are working together on a research project about artificial intelligence in higher education. And during this project, we often talked about how important it is for students to critically engage with this topic. And based on this discussion, we start to look how critical thinking can be taught to students as an academic practice in the first place. And yeah, now we would like to share our first findings about this with you in the presentation. So I think we got this already. So now it starts. Okay, first of all, I would like to give you a definition of critical thinking, and afterwards I will also give you a short overview of the state of research and about the design-based research methodology, which is in higher education pretty famous, but probably in other subjects not that much. And that will lead us then to our project, in which I talk a bit more about what we really do and how we explore the activity of critical thinking as an academic practice. And at the end, I will give you a small overlook about the next steps. So before we completely dive into our project, I would like to give you a short definition about critical thinking so that everybody is on the same page. Critical thinking can be described as an interdisciplinary discipline process of actively and skillfully conceptualizing, applying, analyzing, synthesizing, and/or evaluating information gathered from or generated by observation, experiments, reflection, reasoning, or communication as a guide and to belief and to action. That is one of the famous definition of critical thinking. But however, in this context, I would like to underline that there are different definitions of critical thinking, and that different disciplines such as psychology, philosophy, or education point out different aspects of the activity of critical thinking. So there is not the one definition that we can use, but I think this one is probably really nice. Okay, now we come a bit to the state of research. Critical thinking is one of the most important skills imparted by scientific education. It enables students to access, evaluate, and interpret different theories and topics so that the students can make up their own minds and coming to their own conclusion. Especially the ability to acknowledge that there might be other ways of understanding the very same information gained even more importance as students come face to face with new technologies like artificial intelligence or big data analysis. And however, this critical thinking as a practice where students need to be introduced to and experiment with is often neglected at university teachers and often really in STEM subjects. So that's a bit the reason why we come up with that. And I bring also some surveys about that. So in a representative survey conducted across German universities by the German Center of Higher Education Research and Science Studies in 2018, 91% of all participant students considered critical thinking very important in regard to their studies, especially in the humanities, social science, and legal science. Students rank the ability to think critically as essential, so a really big number. In contrast, students in the natural and technical science consider critical thinking to be far less relevant. So 23% of the survey students of natural science and 29% of students enrolled in the technical science state that in their studies they are not encouraged to think critically, what is a bit shocking actually. And this might be just the tip of the iceberg. On an international level, the scientist Arum and Roska created a stir as they presented a mixed methods analysis of more than 2,300 undergrad students enrolled in 24 different universities. And there the authors concluded that 45% of these undergrads show no scientific improvement in their critical thinking skills while attending college. So they really are not able to think critically. And based on this, we have begun to explore how students can experiment critical thinking as an academic practice. So, oh, wait, I think I'm going one too fast. Yeah, we are here. And in order to examine how critical thinking can be communicated as an academic practice, we first decided to choose a design-based research, short a DBR framework. The term DBR refers to the research framework, which is characterized by methodological diversity and which aims to developing a specific research-based solution on a real-life problem. And once a solution has been found and appeared, it provides new data, which in turn leads to new theoretical insight. So DBR projects tries to achieve both a development goal and a knowledge goal, and that is really important to understanding DBR. And to make it a bit more clear, our development goal is to create a prototype for an interactive video, helping students to explore the theory and the practice of critical thinking, while our knowledge goal is to collect data on the improvement of critical thinking in a specific educational setting. The definition from Kopp et al., you can see it over here, outlines this idea really nicely and summarizes considerations. And according to McKenney and Rees, DBR projects can be divided into 3 interconnected phases. And you can see the phases over there. They are analysis and exploration, design and construction, and evaluation and reflection. And now in the following presentation, we outline the methods and with the results of our first DBR cycle. So first we come to analysis and exploration. And in the first phase, we created a theoretical groundwork for our prototype in order to encourage students to engage in critical thinking. It is just necessary to first introduce them to the characteristics of thinking. And how you could see on the definition I gave you before, it's not that easy because there are different definitions and it's not that clear. So we had to find a way how we can do that the best. And so we choose about that to use the writings of the Greek philosopher Plato, because there he used 3 nicknames of his teacher Socrates, the gadfly, the midwife, and the electric ray, to explain what thinking might entail. And we decided to use these nicknames and to base our interactive video on those metaphors. In Plato's writing, the nicknames indicate that critical thinking is an exhausting activity which destroys supposed knowledge, dissolve convention, and often turn out to be inconclusive. And we think that is a perfect approach for students in the STEM subjects, because they can reconsider their thinking habits about that. So in their studies, it's often like that students have to differentiate correct answers from incorrect ones, and which is why it's so important for them to start questioning their theories and concepts and to accept that there sometimes is no clear-cut solution. I come from the from philosophy, so I'm used a bit to that there's no clear-cut solution, but I think for some subjects it can be really helpful. And the metaphors also help to visualize the activity of thinking, highlighting a specific aspect of critical thinking and allowing students to explore them in a theoretical context. So, and based on Plato's definition of the activity of thinking, 3 pictures were created. You can see them here. We have here the gadfly or the mosquitoes. Here's the midwife, and here's the electric ray. And yeah, in this interactive video, the images will be animated and presented one after another. And following each animation, the video will provide tasks and user interface with a box where students can type their results about it. And that sounds pretty abstract right now. So I would like that you have to give you a better idea about how this interactive video will look later. And that's the reason why we provided a preview. And in this preview video, you can see an example how students can be introduced to the activity of critical thinking on the basis of Socrates' nicknames and how students can work on the task set. The answers you will see in this video, which I will present you now, are from students who have already answered the task about the Socratic nicknames in an online workshop. So, and now I hope I can manage that with the video. I just need a second. Okay, I think now, yeah, now you should see it.
Socrates was a Socrates was a Greek philosopher of ancient nicknames, which he either got from others or gave to himself. The nicknames were Gadfly, the Midwife, and the Electric Ray. All these nicknames describe the way Socrates thought. And with the help of these nicknames, you can explore today, in this interactive video, the activity of thinking in a creative way. Imagine being the horse in the picture. Gadflies are buzzing around your head. What spontaneous thoughts come to your mind when you imagine this, and what adjectives would you use to describe the gadflies? Write down your thoughts. Could you put your spontaneous ideas into context with the activity of thinking? To what extent can the gadfly be a metaphor for thinking? Write down your thoughts and try to always start your explanations with the following sentence. Thinking is, thinking means, or thinking leads to. Now that you have spontaneously thought about the behavior of gadflies, you will get some more information about the context in which Socrates gave himself this nickname. For this purpose, we have brought you a passage from one of the Platonic dialogues about Socrates. Read the passage from Plato's Apology, in which he compares Socrates to a gadfly. Afterwards, consider and discuss whether you have reached similar reflections in connection with the metaphor of the gadfly and the activity of thinking. How do you interpret Plato's use of the gadfly in the text?
Okay, I think now you get an idea about that. Stop, I think I make a mistake. Maybe you can help me to get back to my presentation.
Hello Alice, I'm Roberta. Please just go on the plus of actions and then... No, wait, I'll do it for you. I will upload
I'll pause the timer while you sort this out so you've got enough time.
It's going to be so much easier.
I'm really sorry about that. I'm not really used to use big blue buttons, so I'm a bit confused.
Okay,
Now
yeah, good.
But anyway, I hope you get now a good idea about that. Okay, and I'm back. Wonderful. Thank you so much. And so here was the video. So now you get an idea how it looks, and now I would like to point out a bit the other points about the evaluation and the reflection. And to prepare this video production, we tested our concept already, including the pictures and the tasks in a 4 hours online seminar with 60 students from the course Media Education at the OWL University of Applied Science. And applying to the methods of conjecture mapping, we use the data obtained in the seminar to test both the design and the interactive video and our theoretical theses. And based on this analysis, we make some modification. So we decide that we will make a short introduction about Socrates in the interactive video, and we also want to invite the students to brainstorm first about the activity of thinking. And we also decide that the Platonic dialogue is, especially because we did this first in German, is really hard to understand because it's like this old Greek language where the translation is a bit tricky. We decide to use a bit more a modern language and a simpler language so that the students can go easier into it. Yeah, and now I would like to point out a bit our next steps and the conclusion. And as a next step, we will design and develop the interactive video. Yeah, you see the first prototype in the video before. And with this video, we would like to make it like that we can develop it more and that we can test it by students enrolled in the technical and scientific subjects at our university. And the answer of the participant will be evaluated as well. And based on this analysis, we will also improve the prototype of the interactive video and will change a bit our theoretic thesis. And we hope that our interactive video will help students in STEM subjects to engage in critical thinking and discover its importance for their fields and for the studies. And furthermore, we would like to make the video available to other target groups and to create an interdisciplinary workshop during which students from different subjects would be able to express and exchange their ideas about critical thinking. Yeah, we hope also that a workshop like this would be improve the video's quality by helping to create a sub-stable setting for the video itself and allow us to get also new data. I'm almost finished. That we get more data. And at this point, I also would like to point out the limitation of the project, and naturally the video give us a creative impulse to get students to casually think about the critical thinking, but that is really important. It's just an impulse. It can't give you a really deep examination of the activity of thinking, but this is not the aim of the project. It's more to find an entry point to this topic. Yeah, and that was it for me. Thank you so much to be here. We are really happy that we can be part of this way, and we are looking forward to the next presentation. Thanks.
Okay, thank you very much, Alice. You are actually the last presentation in this segment. So we're meant to finish by 10 past, but I'll allow a couple more minutes to make sure everyone's got enough time to ask questions. So Geetke's been having an exchange with Tobias in the chat. Alice, do you want to say anything about this as well? Basically, Geetke's asking, can this also be used for students? For school students rather.
Well. I think it depends about the students. Like I had a talk with a professor of mine who is a philosophy professor, and he was saying, "Ooh, that's really nice thing for students in STEM subjects, but for philosophy, it's a bit too easy, or he expect more that philosophy students read the old Plato texts." And he actually told me, yeah, maybe it's a good idea to use this for pupils in philosophy. But I think it really depends. It can be an entry point, but especially the Platonic texts are sometimes really struggling. So I'm not 100% sure, but that is a nice thing about DBR. We could just test it and see how it goes. You don't have to do it at the first time right. You can just start to do something and then you evaluate about it and then you see, oh, it works or it doesn't work out. And I think there's another question which go a bit, in the same direction, that I think this data, yes, we can use this flexible on different university courses and subjects, because it's just like critical thinking is something like university, or it's a university goal to do that. So we can just put that, and I think it's absolutely possible to use this flexible and also collect flexible data. And there is another question also. To be honest, it's hard to answer this question, what examination and for what teaching outcomes are the best suit, because we just started with that. So we are still doing our research and we are not 100% sure. We just testing how it works. We now make it one time in an online workshop, what was really nice. We get really nice results and the students were really happy to do that. But we also want to do it as a, as an interactive video where the students just can really do it by themselves and maybe have after that a talk with other students. So it's hard to give a concrete answer to that one.
I think trying to
maybe I formulated this a bit, but what is your aim of level? This is the Bloom's taxonomy starts with they know what critical thinking is. That's the basic level, or do you aim at students being able to apply the system, which is the highest level?
I think it's a bit, first of all, they have to get an idea what critical thinking can be, but what is more important is that they start to do the critical thinking by their own, because they get this picture and you think about the gadfly or what a midwife have to do with thinking, and you are first confused, and then you think about it and you see that there is also no right answer to that. And I think this also helps students to get an idea how complex critical thinking is. So it works on both sides, I would say.
I would say I think a big part of this, which you touched on in the talk, is just getting students away from the deterministic idea that there is always one right answer to every problem, which is a problem in many of the physical sciences that students are. We already heard in Roderick's talk earlier that cases of students sort of faking data to get the right answer rather than so I think it is a big mental block, and I think this is one potential way to resolve it. So for example, one thing we do in my university is we have tutorial questions among the others where there is no known answer to a particular chemical problem. And
that's really nice.
Yeah, it's not meant to, it's so the students in the middle of that know that the answers are not all in the back of the book. If they were, then there would be no point in doing research anymore. So I think it's a very, I think it's been a very interesting talk. And does anybody else? I think we've got time for one more question before we finish, or if not, we'll leave it there. Okay, everyone. So first of all, I'd like to thank once again all the speakers. So Shintaro, Roderick, Shotaro, Dominic, Alice, and Tobias in the chat. Thank you all for attending and for staying within the time limit. And I think we are now breaking until when do we resume? I believe it's 2:30 Central European Time, 1:30 GMT. So thank you all for coming to this session, and we'll leave it there.
Thank you for the organization.
Thank you everybody for joining the session, and thank you for speaking and moderating.
That's great. Thank you.
Thank you.